talk all about branding, and we're going to start with what branding is and how the big corps do it. And then we're going to move down and show you what the small business people, entrepreneurs like Joanna and Jill Ackerman and Irene, like some of them are on the call and some of them aren't today, what they've been able to do and how you create those connections and your branding voice. So I'm going to start here by sharing the screen, and we'll go through this. And there's some powerful videos that I think you'll enjoy. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about what is a brand. A lot of people misunderstand what branding is. They think it's just your logo, but it really isn't a logo. It's a lot more than that. Because if you look at these four logos, or these three logos, sorry, there's a Starbucks logo, the Nike logo, and the Lululemon logo. Now, they're pretty weird if you ask me, and they have absolutely nothing to do with those businesses. You know, Nike with the clothing, Starbucks with the coffee, and Lululemon with the yoga wear. So building your brand is really all about the passion you have for what you do and who you serve. And who you serve is the audience or your customer. So it's your job as a small business to build your own brand. So I'm a big believer in Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Your Why. And your why actually is your purpose. Why are you in business? You know, I mean, entrepreneurs work very long hours, and you have to love what you do to be an entrepreneur. So you have to dig deep and find what your purpose is, why you're doing what you're doing. And then you have to determine how you're going to do it, and then what you're going to say. And those three things in this golden circle are what creates the core of your brand. So you're defining your purpose is your why. Your values and your principles are how you're going to do the business. And your what is your branding voice, what you're going to say. And that depends on what kind of business you are. Like your branding voice can be serious, it can be funny, it can be light and airy. It just depends what your product and your purpose is. So I want to show you this very powerful video of this company called Parker Hannifin. Parker Hannifin is a global corporation, a gazillion billion corporation in the US. And just this year in 2020, after 100 years in business, they started to talk about their purpose. And if you notice in this video, as we play it, there isn't really a direct view of their products. They don't talk about their products. It's not the chairman of the board or the president of the company that is on this video. This is truly the people that work for the company. So I think it's a very creative way of showing the purpose of a company. So it's a couple of minutes, so I hope you enjoy it.
What is Parker's purpose? Why do we do what we do? How do we impact the world around us? We have a shared vision and a strategy for winning. We're known for being innovators, creative problem solvers, and passionate people. So why, after more than a century, are we asking about Parker's purpose? Because the reason we exist, our true purpose, sits above everything else. Enabling engineering breakthroughs that lead to a better tomorrow. Our purpose helps us better understand ourselves and the unique role we play in people's everyday lives. It speaks to why we matter and how we make the world a better place. It acknowledges Parker's vital role in nurturing customer ideas from complex engineering challenge to real-life application. Our critical technologies enable the engineering breakthroughs that make the world work better. You may not see them, but Parker technologies can be found on nearly everything that moves. So how do we bring our purpose to life? By tapping into our passion to make a meaningful impact on the future. By applying our own unique talents. By living our values. Where passion, talent, and values align, that's how we unlock the power of purpose. At Parker, creativity doesn't happen in a vacuum, and breakthroughs aren't confined to the lab. We find inspiration in making the world around us better, in making the communities in which we live and work better. And so we think critically and dive deeply into the engineering challenges that have the broadest implications in the real world. From fulfilling the most basic needs for clean air and water, food cultivation and preservation, to advancing human progress through infrastructure, transportation, energy, medical developments, and more sustainable products and practices. We're focused on the big ideas that make the world feel smaller. We take pride in making complex things simple. And we know that oftentimes, the smallest products have the biggest impact. We work alongside our customers as a trusted partner, searching for new ways to enable them to innovate and perform better, more safely, more efficiently, more responsibly. A shared purpose, a greater calling, a guiding star for success. We are Parker, and it takes all of us working together, united by a common purpose, to create a better tomorrow, to enable our customers to make a better tomorrow, to be ready for the opportunities that arise and the future we all share, enabling engineering breakthroughs that lead to a better tomorrow.
So what I really like about that video is that it concentrates on the people part and making a better place in the world, you know, through the engineering breakthroughs. So it's a very powerful video to show you the breadth of and diversity of their workforce, the complexity of the problems that they solve, and working together both with their clients for a better tomorrow. And you can tell with the community of workers in the company. So that's a video that they can show to any new client. And when you see that, you would want to work with that kind of company. So they've created a very powerful video that explains their purpose. So now, you know, I think we've actually, sorry. So now let's look at the branding purpose of Joanna's company, Blackmore Levy. Now, Blackmore Levy is a financial planning company. And yet, when they talk about their brand, it has nothing to do with the products that they sell, which is, you know, the products that they have are insurance, mortgages, wealth products like mutual funds, stocks, and all that kind of thing. But they don't talk about that in their branding because they want to stand out and be different. And that's what we did with them. Because when Joanna and I were talking, when we first started to work together, she never talked about the products that she sold. She was always talking about education, how she wanted to help people have a better, secure financial future. And she explained to me how they did that by starting with a solid foundation, helping people eliminate bad debt, leveraging good debt, which is leveraging, you know, the equity that you have, and then building wealth for your retirement. And the very, very few financial planning companies talk like that. And so I could hear the passion in Joanna's voice about when she was talking about building a house. So I said, well, that's your unique purpose, is educating people on how to build a house. So let's make your house, and let's make it purple because that's Joanna's color, to explain things to the client base, and to be the brand, to be the foundation of her brand. So that's how we did that. And I think that's very important, to examine what you do, who your clients are, and what makes your company stand out and be unique. Because in every single industry, there are many, many competitors. So you have to find what makes you unique, whether you're in food, whether you're in fashion, whether you're in a service industry. It doesn't matter what you do. But what you need to convey in your branding is, why you're doing what you are doing, why you're different, and who you serve and how you serve your clients. So I'm going to show you here two staging companies. This one, 360 Home Staging, their purpose is really the senior market, senior management, downsizing seniors, doing the repairs to their home, and then staging their home for sale. So it's a unique value proposition for a staging company because it does three things and it focuses on a particular market. So that's 360 Home Staging. But here we have Stage Right, which is another staging company, which takes it in a whole different other plane, because theirs is more staging at the higher end, I would say, properties that are in the $1 million, $2 million range, and also decorating for living when they've arrived at their new home. So it has two different streams. It has the staging stream, and then it has the interior decorating stream. And also Stage Right, Jill Ackerman is a tremendous instructor for staging to the real estate industry. And so that's a completely different kind of staging company than the one that we saw previously, 360 Home Staging. So there's an example of two companies in exactly the same industry that have branded themselves completely differently. And that's the whole thing about branding, is to find what makes you unique and accelerate and accentuate that part of your business. So the exercise that we're going to take for 1 minute or 2 minutes, or for you to even just write down and do later, is what is your why? In other words, what is the purpose of your company? So for me, it's launching. The purpose of XL Consulting Company, for example, is to launch companies online with online tools, whether it's social media, the marketing strategy, their web, their online presence through a shop, online shop, whatever it is. So that's the purpose of our company. And I have, through Fabulous Fempreneurship, focused mostly on the women market, although not exclusively. But that's the whole thing. My purpose is to launch new businesses online. So think about the purpose of your company. It doesn't matter if you are in network marketing, if you are a food company, if you are a photographer, it doesn't matter. Everybody has a niche and a purpose for their business. And that's the first thing to think about, is what that purpose is and what makes you stand out from somebody else in a similar industry. And, even if you're in network marketing, You can have, say, 6 young living representatives, but they can all find a unique way and focus on a certain part of their product line to help women or to help a different market. It doesn't really matter, but that's what you bring out in your marketing. So the second exercise is to make a list of your principles and values and put them in verb form. So, for example, in Parker Hannafin, it was innovation. It could be educating women on finance. It could be finding the uniqueness in every customer, which is what I do when I'm branding different companies. Always doing the right thing, putting your customers at the forefront of everything you do. So make a list, maybe a little later, because we don't want to, run this too long, to list all the hows using these kinds of things as examples. All the things that you do to help your clients or your clients to be. So the last thing are what are your whats, what you say and how you say it, because this picture shows you that 46% of a brand's image comes from what they say and how they say it. So your tone is just as important, and make sure that your what you say and how you say it is targeted to the way that your customers want to hear it. So, in Joanna's example, her key and core audience for her clients to be and her existing clients are people who know really not a lot about the financial industry. They don't understand the industry jargon that most financial planners use. So Joanna takes a lot of time to explain things in everyday language that the average person would understand. So that makes the person very comfortable when they're reading something Joanna's written, or hearing something, or seeing a video that she's posting, because everything she says and everything she does is written in words that people would understand, not in a corporate voice like, say, Parker Hannafin did. So that's the other thing, that you have to understand your audience in order to understand what to say and how you say it. So when you develop your voice and your tone of what you're going to say, you have to be consistent in everything that you do. So your products, your services, your marketing, your PR, your culture, who you hire has to be a reflection of the brand that you're building and the voice that you're using. So you have to make sure you can't say you're one thing and then hire different kinds of people, or say things in an entirely different way, because it doesn't complete the picture of who you are. And people get very confused. They want to know and like and trust you. And the way that you do that is that you're consistent in everything that you do. So that when you call Joanna, you know the kind of person that you're going to meet, that you're going to meet this very friendly, down-to-earth person who's going to talk to you in an everyday voice. Because that's what she portrays on her website, when she's on Facebook, when she's on LinkedIn, whatever. She comes across as a very natural, caring, everyday language speaking person. So she's not fancy. She's not trying to sell. She's not TD. She's not the Royal Bank. She's not the wealth management kind of corporate company. So she knows where her lane is, and she's in her lane all the time. And that's what you've got to do when you create your brand, because now you know what kind of brand you are, because Lululemon is completely different, say, to Nike. And you're going to develop your own community and your own followers. So that's why you need that consistency. So now we've got awesome branding. When you understand your why, you understand your core values and your principles, and you have your branding voice. So those are the 3 keys to developing your brand. And it doesn't matter who you are and what industry you're in, with a little bit of reflection, you can find that and find your uniqueness. And you don't want to compare yourself to anybody else. You are your brand, and you stay with who you are, and you don't differentiate from that unless you need to rebrand. And here are some of the reasons why you might want to rebrand. It could be when your offering has changed. Maybe you were a retail business and now you need to go online. It could be when the market you are serving has changed. Maybe you used to, your product was for the corporate market, and now you're going to the consumer market. Or it could be the other way around. Maybe you were in the consumer market and you're now going to rebrand and go to the corporate market. So as you can tell from what we did earlier in finding your purpose and your how and your what, you would have to flip your branding or rebrand yourself if your brand spoke to the wrong audience. For example, if Joanna was targeting a corporate kind of investment company, or she was doing corporate insurance, or she was doing commercial mortgages or something like that, she wouldn't be branding the way she was branding. She would be rebranding herself with a completely different tone and a completely different look. But hers is geared to the consumer. And so that's why she's got her house and speaking in the language of foundation and, bad debt, good debt, and wealth. And sometimes you might want to rebrand because your market's changed. So maybe you're addressing a different kind of market than you did before. So for example, in Irene's case, she is a new company with 360 Home Staging, and she immediately knew that she wanted to brand to seniors. But say you were Jill Ackerman's company and you wanted to rebrand and address a different market like the senior markets, then she might want to do complete rebranding. And sometimes when you're in a situation like we're in now, where a lot of companies have to pivot because their existing market has perhaps gone away, this is when you want to kind of take a look, go back to the drawing board, and look at where you're going with your target market and what products you're selling and how you can make a difference to rebrand yourself. So that takes some time, because branding isn't a one and done. Branding is years of developing it. Look at Nike, look at Lululemon, look at Starbucks. They went from nothing to where they are over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So your branding is going to last that long. So you need to have it figured out or keep working on it so that you know exactly what your lane is. So once you know what your branding is or your rebranding is or where you're going to pivot to in this day and age, you can now find your branding voice. So that's because we know who we are, what our values are, and we know basically what we're going to talk about. So now we should know our branding voice, okay? And your branding voice is how you're going to tell your stories, the tone of it, and the wording that you're going to use. So you're going to tell stories about why you went into business. You're going to it's always good to share some background. And you're going to talk about your actions, your hows, your whys, why you're doing it when you're talking in your stories. And you're going to show your what, your authenticity in your stories. And storytelling is the best way to create your brand. Just like Parker Hannifin did that video. That's the story of their brand in video form. So the reason we tell stories is because they connect emotionally to our prospective clients, and stories show your authenticity. And that's very important, because your authenticity is how people trust and like you and then want to work with you. So building your brand and your authenticity of your brand is extremely important. And you can tell your stories in many, many different ways. So you can write blog posts on your website. That's one way to do it. You can use YouTube videos to explain. That's great for people who are in the, developing recipes or have something very visual. You can do how-to videos of how you make something if you are a vegan nutritionist, or if you do parties at your house, or and explain a video that you do on YouTube and walking through the process of what you do, the stuff that you make. That's a great way. Anything visual is easy to do in a YouTube video. Podcasting, I do a lot of podcasting myself on my Fabulous Fempreneurship. And podcasting is easy to do because, especially if you're the host, because you really are just prompting an expert on your podcast. So you're not the center of attention. Your guest is the center of attention. But as a podcast host, you've got recognition and you've got a following too. So that's the advantage of doing that. Or you can do live training, or you can do online training. And those are all ways to tell stories. But don't forget that it takes 5 times at least for one person to get your message. So sometimes you need to use all these forms to get your message across. And you can do that in different ways. And you can repurpose things that you've done in all different ways. So talking about Joanna, a Blackmore Levy group, this is the core, her house, right? Building the solid foundation. And this is talking about wills, power of attorneys, insurance, bad debt, good debt, wealth, is all together in this financial house. So she has got this picture of the financial house that she can use in her branding in different ways. And then in building a solid foundation, Joanna had this video made last year, and it's talking about what happens if your spouse dies without a will. And it's very powerful video that is a keystone of talking about wills and having a solid foundation, financial foundation. So I just want to play this because this is a very simple video that Joanna had made. There's nothing fancy in it. Adrienne, she made 2 videos at one time. And this is Adrienne's story. And it's a very moving story. So I just want you to view this one, because it every time I've seen this, whether it's at a live event or watching it myself on YouTube, it just brings tears to your eyes. So let's go ahead and watch this one.
6 months ago, I lost my husband. Losing anybody is really stressful. You kind of are having difficulty making decisions and knowing what exactly is the right thing to do for that person, your family members. So it's a confusing time, it's a stressful time, and it's a sad time. I think because of our ages, we weren't really thinking about death. Unfortunately, my husband didn't have a financial advisor. He did not have a will or a power of attorney. What is happening is that I'm having a lot of difficulties accessing life insurance policies and his RSPs, any of his financial stakes or holdings. I'm having a lot of difficulty being able to navigate through that. After meeting Joanna and being with Joanna, my future feels extremely bright, secure, and mapped out well. With a family, it's been very difficult because the world doesn't stop, and people that you owe money to or bills that come in, they don't stop. I was in dire straits because I was lacking in that financial support that my husband did provide for my children and I. And after struggling for quite a while, I finally reached out to Joanna and let her know where I was at with that. And she was able to make arrangements for me to feel some financial relief. I'm extremely happy with the work that Joanna has done for me because she listened intensely to my needs, my wants, and my desires, and she's given me the tools to be able to ensure that my children do not have to go through what I'm going through right now, so that everything is put in a will and there are these key pieces put in place so that my children can just mourn me and not have to worry about what to do and where things are coming from. It will all be done for them.
What was completely devastating in Adriana's situation was that she was a student at the time at University of Guelph. And so she had absolutely no income coming in. And that's where Joanna was able to, took it to the bank, and the bank wasn't very understanding at all. It left her in absolutely dire straits. So, that powerful video is a reminder to everybody that how important the work that Joanna does in building a solid financial foundation for people, because, and that's got nothing to do with Joanna's products. It's all about how she's helping Adrienne get out of a mess and making sure that she's got a solid foundation for the future. So that's what makes that very powerful video. So exercise number 3 is to make a list of what stories you can tell to show your expertise and what formats you can use. So remember, we talked about the 2 staging companies, 360 Home Staging and Stage Right. So here are examples of what 360 can do. They can do a video of the anxiety seniors have when considering moving, like a testimonial video of 2 seniors, like these 2 seniors here, how anxious they were when they considered moving. An example of that is exactly that right now with Joanna's parents. They have anxiety due to health issues about moving, right? So, 360, whose specialty is in moving seniors, if they could get a testimonial video from somebody who has that anxiety, how powerful would that be in the marketing and branding of her company? So in a blog post talking about seniors downsizing, needing home staging, she can use before and after pictures to show what the home was like that she was renovating and staging before and after. She can do a blog post about decluttering during the pandemic, especially for seniors who like to hold on to things. And she can do a walkthrough video before and after showing the renos of a senior's home that was for sale. So in the case of what Irene does at 360, she actually does the renovations for the seniors. Well, seniors don't want to usually spend a lot of money on renos. They just want to, once they got over the anxiety, they want to get on and get this place that maybe hasn't been fixed for 50, 60 years, looking good enough to sell. So Irene does those simple renovations and then stages the home for sale. But in the case of Stage Right, she has a whole different group of things that she can do, because she's at a different stage of doing different things for her company. So what Stage Right did is do YouTube videos showing staging of a living room, the whole process, and what made it look fantastic. So now we're at a different kind of home. She also did, because she is looking to do more work in the interior design space, she did a giveaway on Facebook during the pandemic when she couldn't do home staging, to give away a virtual analysis of your home. Like, you could take pictures of it, send it to her, and if you were the lucky winner, then you did a Zoom call with you, and she went through the room and she could show you how you could change different things to make it look a lot different. Now, this is something that Jill Ackerman at Stage Right hadn't even considered before, but it ties in very nicely with the pandemic and to the future, where she can pivot her business to incorporate new products and new visions, as well as the training for the real estate agents, which she can probably do as an online course now, but she can also have Zoom consultations, which gives her another avenue of new clients. So there's two staging companies, two different ways to brand themselves. So there are important things to remember when you're telling your stories. You have to make sure that you have a title in your story that is going to get people to open up your post. The way that you tell your stories, well, not just your posts, but your videos or whatever method you're using, or your podcasts, you need a good title. And then you need to have an emotional connection in your story. A good case in point is the story of Adriana's video. That was told very simply, authentically, and the emotional connection of that was just in the very simplicity of the way Adriana told the story. So you have to remember who the audience is for your stories, and I think that general audience of everyday people that Joanna has as a client base would very much relate to Adriana's story, because that's Miss Everyday. It could happen to any of us. I mean, I was in that situation. I became a widow at 56, a little bit older than Adriana, and I'm telling you, I am so glad that I had a will, a power of attorney, and that I had life insurance, or life could have been a whole lot better. But there are tons of people out there that haven't given that a thought. And I think the only reason that I gave it a thought when I was younger was that I was an immigrant into this country. I had absolutely no family whatsoever in Canada. And when I had kids, even my brother lives in the UK, so I didn't have anyone. So my husband and I at the time had to make sure that we had a guardian for our children, because God forbid we died in a car accident, what would happen to the kids? Made sure that we had a life insurance policy and that we appointed the beneficiaries, all that kind of stuff that happened to Adriana because her husband didn't have a will. Thank God, in my case, we did have a will. So, You know what I mean? That makes it makes everybody think, do I have a will? Is it up to date? And have I got named beneficiaries? So, you know, Joanna is all about educating people. The purpose of her company is to make sure that she safeguards the finances of her clients, right? In every which way there possibly is. So she definitely remembers who the audience is for her stories, and she uses the right tones. She's not talking down to the people who are reading the blog posts or watching the videos. It's you in the story, you she's talking to. So she knows who the client base is, and she knows the right tone to use with them. And in the case of that video, it's the most powerful stories are told by your clients and using real life examples like Adriana's. And there's another one on YouTube that Joanna did of Rachel, which is just as powerful, which she is going to use that story later on in her marketing. So exercise number 4 that I want you to take home with you is outline one story, just one story that is unique to you and the brand, with a great title, an emotional connection, and it has to have a particular audience in mind. It's just like you're talking to one person. What kind of problem are you solving for this one person? And what kind of tone makes sense for your story? It doesn't have to be the tone that Joanna used for hers. For example, Emas, for you, you're a clothing boutique. You wouldn't use that kind of story, and you wouldn't use that kind of tone. But you have some wonderful clients in your boutique, and there's many different things that you can do with your client stories, the different shapes of your client, different ages of your client, the different problems your clients have in picking out clothes. It's all kinds of stories that you can tell with your products in the fashion boutique. So find an element that makes that story that you're telling very powerful. There has to be something in there. Maybe somebody hasn't come to look for clothes in 20 years because she doesn't like the way she looks or whatever, you know, and you've dressed her to look fantastically, you know, with the colors, or pulled out a feature that the clothing makes her look just fantastic. There was one, Tammy Hudgen, I don't know if anybody knows her, Tammy Hudgen's business, Creating Your Presence. She has a big Facebook following, and she showed today a picture of her getting her hair cut and doing away with dyeing her hair and going from long curly hair to short hair. Well, that hairdresser should be using that picture and making a video of having that hair, doing that haircut. What powerful change she made to Tammy's hair. That would be a unique way to brand a hairdressing salon, to show the before, the after, the joy in Tammy's face of showing her completely new look and embracing her gray hair. It was fantastic. A great job by the hairdresser. So that's in a nutshell what branding is all about. And I am offering anybody on this Zoom call a half-an-hour personalized branding or rebranding conversation on Zoom. I'll record it for you so that you can get some very specific ideas for your company. And it's valid until the end of July. So it's completely free. Connect with me here at my company address or my phone number, or you can find me online or through the Connect with Us page on excelconsultinggroup.com website. And I'm more than happy to help anybody with branding or rebranding their business, because as we go through this pandemic, a lot of companies have to look at what they can do differently to rebrand their company, to go in a new direction or validate what they were doing before, or go in a new direction from in-person to online. We have to be very creative. And some of you I know, like Linda from the Traveling Tea Room, she's been very creative in expanding her brand, because at the moment she can't have live events, big tea parties at the Royal Botanical Gardens. She's got to do things in a completely different way, and she's incorporated products that she is now showing in lives on Zoom. And another way she can do that as an extension is to sell her jewelry products online, through an online store. So that she's in a situation where she's doing a little bit of rebranding, because at the moment we don't know when large events are coming back. So in order for her business, and she has a cookbook and she has a card line. So she's done a lot of rebranding. So she can go back to her original, but she's branched out so that she can pivot and go in a different direction during the pandemic. And so we can help you with any kind of business go in a different direction. So whether you're starting out new or if you're going off into a new direction, it's all branding and marketing, and we'd be more than happy to help you with that. So if there are any questions, you can either email your questions to me at my email address here, or if you put them in the comments section, I'll be sure to get back to you your comments via email. So I hope that's been helpful to you today, and be sure to keep in touch and keep talking.